Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and to Haworth. Now we all know this view, don't we? The cobbles, the parsonage just up the hill, the church standing watch over it all. It's a view we've seen so many times, but today I'm seeing Haworth from a very different angle. I've been invited to do something that hardly anyone gets the chance to do, and only a handful of people each year in fact. And I can't quite believe I've said yes, because it does involve heights and quite a few steps. I'll be joined by Reverend Oli Preston, who kindly agreed to come with me and share a few stories along the way. But for now, I'll just say it's something rather special. It's early on a chilly November morning in Haworth and the village is still waking up. Apart from a few dog walkers and the odd delivery, it's quite quiet. The kind of quiet I absolutely love. These are the moments when you can slow down, breathe in the cold air and really feel the history under your feet. Walking up these cobbled streets, I often find myself thinking about all the people who've climbed this hill before us, century after century. I always imagine the Brontë sisters making their way down to the stationers with their shawls pulled tight, choosing paper and ink, and then bracing themselves for that long walk back up the cobbles with an idea forming in their minds. Perhaps a character, a line, or a scene they cannot wait to write when they reach home. There is something magical about these quiet moments in Haworth, when the village feels almost suspended in time and the past feels just that little bit closer. So are you ready? Because this is where we're going. Eek! Wish me luck. And I wonder if the Brontë sisters themselves, if they once climbed the old tower that was there in their time, and if they saw Haworth from the very spot I'm going to see it from today. I don't know. So let's go and see what Haworth looks like from the top. Exciting, but slightly nervous. not great with heights, but it's going to be amazing. Let's go. I always like to come into the church first before I go anywhere else, just to say hello to the Brontë family while it's quiet. It feels right somehow to let them know what I'm up to today, especially when it's something a little out of the ordinary. And tell me, is it just me, or do you ever imagine Emily perched up on one of the wooden beams, looking down at us with a book in her hand, wondering why on earth we're all disturbing her while she's trying to read? I can almost see her there, completely absorbed, only half noticing the rest of us coming and going. There is a real stillness in here that makes me feel as though the past is just out of sight.
So I'm back on planet Earth. Well, my feet are on the ground, put it that way. And I am pumping with adrenaline. Oh my goodness. It was amazing. I'm feeling really emotional about it, which is bizarre because, well, why would I feel emotional about climbing a tower and standing at the top? It was breathtaking. I think that's the only words I can find right now to describe it. And I got to the top and I felt really emotional. I was so close to tears. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I was somewhere that I've always wanted to go, or because I was just up high, or because I actually made it up the steps. Now, I'll tell you more about this in a bit once I've calmed down a bit, but those steps were tiny. Now, it really makes you realise how much as humans have grown. Our feet. The steps were small, it was tight. I've got my backpack on, which I use all the time for filming because it's easy, makes you, hands free. But I struggled with the backpack, I was squeezing through spaces. Oh, excuse me, I'm so excited, bit of windy pops. So yeah, it was ever so tiny. There was a rope. There was no way I could hold my camera and climb the steps. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to film the steps because health and safety, no way. But so I've come for a little walk through the graveyard just to try and calm myself down. But unfortunately, you are getting my enthusiasm and my adrenaline. But the sun's out. It has rained so much over the last 48 hours. And yet I woke up this morning, the sun is out, the sky is blue. Perfect weather for climbing a tower. And I did it. Little happy dance. So, yeah, a little wander through the graveyard just to calm me down a bit. And I will give you a full update. I tell you what, let's meet up in a bit. I'll get myself a cup of tea and a bit of cake. And we'll go back to the cottage that I'm staying in and we'll have a proper chat. I'm still so excited. And when I think I was at the tower.
Hello. So it's a bit later on and I'm back at the cottage. I've lit a fire because it's a bit of a chilly night. It feels a bit damp. And you know how sometimes that damp gets into your bones? Well, that's today. So I've calmed down a little bit after my climb up the tower, and I wanted to tell you all about it. So I did mention that it was difficult to film whilst actually going up. That's because when you go through the small side door, the stairs are literally just in front of you, and they're a spiral staircase. And you can just about stand upright, but I had my backpack on as well. So I had to lean forward a little bit. And the only handle is a piece of rope that runs from the bottom all the way to the top. So you feel like you're pulling on it because it's quite loose. So you do a few circular laps going up. And then there's a door, which Ollie went up first so we could unlock the door so we could literally just fall through the steps. And then we get into the bell pulling chamber. Can't think of the correct terminology. We'll look it up and put it up here. But basically, you where the bell pullers stand to ring the bells. Bell ringers? Anyhow, I will explain on screen, no doubt. So you go in this room, and this would have been the original part of the church in Patrick's time. And it's a very square room, the sort of the full shape of the cube of the tower, you could say. And the ropes are hanging down and then hooked up onto hooks with their numbers. And there's a table in the middle and instructions for certain songs. Would you call it a song if there's no one singing? A peal, isn't it? That's what you call the bell ringing. Anyway, bits and bobs on the table for people to read while they're pulling the bells. And then there's just all these bits and bobs on the wall that is absolutely fascinating, and I just couldn't keep my eyes off them. But there's also a mezzanine floor, you could say, which has got all the mechanisms for the clock in. Can't quite see it very well from where you're stood, but it's definitely up there. And, you know, from what I did see, it looks pretty impressive. There's a ladder that gets put up against this mezzanine floor for the man to go up and wind it. And there's these counterweights for the clock when it's working. It's not at the moment, like I mentioned before. Parts of it have been taken away to be restored. And when it is working, they're the weights, but they're changing them to electronic weights. Electronic winding mechanism. So somebody doesn't have to go up and down. And Ollie said that the man that goes up there to wind the clock has just given up his responsibility of doing this at the age of 85. Well, I don't know how he does it because, wow, those steps twice a week to go up to wind that clock and then up a little ladder. Brave man, that's all I can say. So you go up into this room. We had a look round. There's the stained glass window, which I'll show in the picture, which gives the light to the room. And then you go back out into the spiral staircase, tiny landing, and you carry on up. But now it gets even narrower. And then when you get to the top of this section, there's the bells, and they are Patrick's bells. And that's what I kept thinking. I'm looking at Patrick's bells, and you can see on there the day 1845. And that just felt amazing. I kept touching them because I kept thinking, this is history. You know, this is a proper piece of Brontë history in front of me. The bells are in a slightly different position than normal because of the fact they're having this work done on the clock. So they're in the down position. Normally they're in an up position. And obviously you then pull the rope and then they swing and go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. But obviously with the work being done on the clock, it's safer if they're in the down position. So I looked at the bells. And then Ollie announced, see that wooden ladder in the corner? We're going up that wooden ladder through a trapdoor onto the roof. So I'm okay. I'm not great at heights, but it had a handrail and it was high, but I've done worse. So I thought, I can do this. I am a strong woman. I can climb a wooden ladder. So up we go. And when we get to the top, there's a hatch. And the hatch opens, and then you've almost got to climb off the wood ladder and over the sort of the lip of the hatch, which is, you know, quite substantial at the same time to be able to get your feet on the roof. And this was my wobble moment because behind me is the ladder going down to where the bells are, and I have to somehow lean forward, swing my legs over whilst grabbing onto the wall of the actual tower And for about 10 seconds, my heart was in my mouth. How am I going to do this? And then I went, oh my goodness, what if I can't do it? What if I get stuck? How will I get down? All these doubts suddenly popped in my head. You know, I've wanted to do this for so long, and here I am, and I'm the person that get wedged in the hatch. But I don't know why, I felt okay. As soon as I had that initial wobble, I then thought, God, this is great. This is going to be amazing. And I stepped onto the roof, and it was fine. And I did it, obviously, because I'm still here. But the roof is obviously lead, and it's quite slippery because it's been raining a lot, and obviously just general grime. And it took my breath away. I honestly can say the first thing I said when I got up there was, wow, because it is just amazing. The wall is quite low, but, you know, we're sensible. I knew what I was doing. I wasn't going to go too close. And the flagpole's in the middle, and it's held in place by these wires, which to give it stability. And so to walk around, you have to duck under the wires. But the first thing I did, other than saying wow, was poor Ollie was stood there, and I grab onto his arm, and I'm like, I just need to hold on to a human for a minute. Because I just had this overwhelming feeling of being extremely high up and trying to sort of like focus on the distance and not get too sort of vertigo from it. But I was fine. Poor Ollie stood there. So while Ollie took the flag down, I had a walk around the top, and I had a look round, and I could see the birds. And that was a really strange thing, to be at the same level as the birds flying by. But it was lovely. It was, yeah, I can't think of the words to describe it, because I was trying to take it all in, and I wanted to experience this. But I am just still, hours later, blown away by the experience. So after having a little wander around up there, after having a look about, I then had the sudden realisation that what goes up must come down. And I had to then get back the way I came. And suddenly the hatch looked scary all over again, because somehow I suddenly realised I had to get myself over that ledge and onto those wooden steps again. And that was a bit of a jelly leg moment, I must admit. But, you know, the idea of it was so much more scary than the actual doing of it. Because as soon as I got one foot on the step, I felt quite grounded and I was fine. But it was the thought, and that's kind of applies to a lot of things, isn't it? The idea of something is worse than the actual doing of it. And back we came, we talked about the bells, then down another layer, and we looked in the bell puller chamber, bell pulling chamber, bell ringer's room, bell chapel, bell. We had a look round there, and Ollie told me about the bells and the ropes and how it works, and showed me the plaque on the wall which showed the longest peal and how it went so well. They put a plaque up, which I thought was great. But my question was, how did they get that plaque upstairs? So I assume it was made in situ, because, yeah, there was no way that was going to fit through the door. So then we came down again eventually, and I stood at the bottom and I just looked up, and I couldn't believe it. But then I noticed things that I hadn't really noticed before. Like if you look, I'll put a picture up. There's these small little square holes in the tower, and some of them have a small pane of glass in to help light the actual staircase. So that was great to see. But then again, some of them weren't in the right place, so we couldn't work out why they were there. My initial thought when I saw them, before I knew that they had panes of glass in, was when they originally built in the church, they had to find some sort of holes for scaffolding, wooden scaffolding that they made. But actually, maybe they were for both. We don't know. Another mystery. Anyway, I came down to earth. I was high as a kite, full of adrenaline, excitement, feeling proud of myself for doing it, but also realising what an opportunity I had to see Brontë country from up there. I wish you could have all been there with me. You would have loved it. But I hope, again, watching a screen does not even come close to showing you how amazing it was in person. But but I hope it helps give you a glimpse into what you would see if you were up there. And the only thing I'm going to say is drones do not give you half the excitement that actually physically going up a big staircase and a ladder does. I need to put another log on the fire. It's going to go out otherwise. Hold on, I'll just do that. I'll just put this down. Sorry if it's loud. And electronic electronic, what am I trying to say? What is the word? And apparently Ollie said that the clock winder man, but then when you get to the top, there is what's the word? Trapdoor, a hatch.
Well, that was absolutely incredible. I mean, honestly, what an experience, being right up there above Haworth, looking out over Brontë country in every direction. I mean, I've seen this village so many times, but never like that. I mean, the views were just breathtaking. I just wish I could have taken you all up there with me so that you could have felt the wind in your face and hear the birds calling from the rooftops and the trees. It was really something so special. Now, before I go, it's time for my famous 3 questions. So I've been having a think. What did you expect the bell tower to look like from the inside? Number 2, do you think the Brontës ever climbed to the top of the tower themselves? I mean, I could imagine Emily stomping up those steps and being absolutely fascinated to be up there with the birds. And question number 3, if you could visit anywhere in Haworth, no limits at all, where would you go and why? So let me know your answers in the comments below. I'd love reading what you have to say and what you think about it all. And of course, thank you to Reverend Oli Preston for being my tour guide and my therapist when I had a little wobble up the top. I'm so grateful to him and for everybody I know in Haworth who are so kind, because they helped me fulfill my crazy ideas. And also thank you to all of you, my viewers, for watching. It means a lot to me that you come back week after week, so thank you. If you like this video, however, please do the whole likey, subscribey thing, because it really does help me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Brontë content. Have a great weekend, look after yourselves, and I will see you the Friday after next for more Brontë adventures. See you soon. Bye.